all of the above, that's not to say Postecoglou is blameless. Not at all. Not at all. I'm just trying to explain how his system should work. When I say he's not blameless, I would say I look back to the Forest game 6 days beforehand, and I felt he was very kind of proactive and saw that things weren't working in that first half, and he made the half-time changes, which were excellent. Bentancur and Højbjerg came on, really successful changes. As always, love to credit a manager when they make kind of important tactical changes, and that's what he did. But this time, it kind of almost felt like he just watched on as Spurs wilted a bit under the pressure. You could kind of see the way the game was going. And by his own admission, he said in the week, and he said it a couple of times, he's got a squad that's now strong enough to change things around whenever he feels like it. It was a far stronger bench than Newcastle's. Even at half-time, there were some journalists in the media room saying, you know, but Spurs can kind of change this game. They've got the options on the bench to change this game. It didn't happen like that, but you know, I just felt like Postecoglou allowed this game to get away from Spurs. Look, I still always will blame the players first. I always think there's a certain standard of players as a unit have to provide, and I don't think they did that. But I would also say Postecoglou played his point in not reacting quickly enough to that. I mean, Spurs were 3-0 down before he made his first change. You know, it was actually 6 minutes after they were 3-0 down. Kind of that standard hour mark. It was 58 minutes, 57, 58 minutes. And it was a bit like, ugh. You know, that's where I do think he's been quite proactive in a lot of games. I don't buy into this narrative that he's a guy that just kind of stands there saying nothing. That's his style. He isn't, although I did see him shouting quite a bit yesterday, actually. He was shouting about, was it Byrne bringing down James Maddison in probably the clearest yellow card I've ever seen. To be fair, James Maddison a couple of minutes before had brought down, I think it was Anthony Gordon in quite a cynical challenge that should have been a yellow card. Then had a challenge later on with his studs that could have easily been a second yellow had it, you know. So I don't think Spurs were, you know, exclusive in their upset at what the referee had done. But yeah, no, Postecoglou was shouting quite a bit. But it was more just about, yeah, the changes and doing what he could have done. And I just felt, you know, he brought 3 players on, and I don't know, it was almost like, I know his options were limited, but I guess taking Sonny off, who's been your chief goal threat this season, it almost felt like he decided the game was done to me. We'll talk about Sonny and his performance and why I guess he did take him off. But yeah, I wasn't impressed on that side of it. Again, that's not his strength, and whether he should be playing centrally is a whole other debate. But yeah, Sonny has been there for Spurs throughout this season. He's scored so many goals, got so many assists. He's just a remarkable player. You know, he's about to enter an elite group of players that have, if he can get another assist, of having more than 10 goals and 10 assists in 3 seasons in the Premier League. It's just remarkable. But yesterday was one of his, just couldn't get into the game. Couldn't really make his mark in it. Couldn't hold the ball up. Just couldn't control it. He did play a lovely pass early on to Timo Werner, which was a lovely moment outside of his foot. But yeah, it wasn't one of his best performances. He touched the ball just 26 times. Didn't have a single shot on goal. Didn't have a dribble forward, which you know he's so good at as well. Part of that is where he's playing. Part of that was this. That was why maybe in my head I was kind of thinking, well, why didn't they kind of push him out left rather than taking him off? That was one. I was a bit surprised at that decision in terms of the substitution. But I think the key thing though is having him in this role as a central forward. It works in some games, but if you're asking him to play constantly with his back to goal, be a hold-up man, and sorry, Tottenham had just scored. I was watching it because I could see the back of Martha Thomas. I think it scored. 3 minutes left of extra time. How wonderful. Well, that's cheered me up anyway. That's far better than everything else I'm talking about. Yeah, Sonny. Back to Sonny. It was. It's just not his thing. It's not his thing. He has improved on it. I think he's far better with his back to goal than he was. But he has. It's not his strength. It's not. I hate people hate it sometimes when I mention Harry Kane, but we can add Richarlison in there as well. It's like it's not Sonny's thing. Sonny is a flying attacking player. probably more comfortable going down the flanks and cutting inside. And he's been asked to do this different role, which he's done very well on the whole this season. Yeah, it took him off after his 58 minutes, and Sonny's face said it all. He looked, he wasn't complaining, he wasn't having a tantrum or anything as some players would have. He's not that kind of guy, Sonny. But he just looked really solemn. He knows he didn't play well. He knows that the whole team didn't play well, and as captain, that would have hurt him a lot. And then there was the fourth goal. We've got to get round to the fourth goal because Postecoglou, I always get people on social media kind of asking, I find it kind of mad that they're always like, you've got to ask this. Why haven't you asked that? And you're like, we have. And I think this is the kind of the aspect of, and I understand it. People are not going to be aware of every press conference. They're going to be aware of every question we ask. And I guess just in their head, they haven't had an answer to it. We do. We're the same as you guys. We wonder why something isn't happening or why something is happening. We'll ask the question, and we do. And yeah, I've had a few people this morning saying, you need to ask about set pieces. I have. Someone asked him in the week. I think he was asked the week before. I've asked him about set pieces and the issues behind it. And the answer each time has been, it's not really a concern. And look, I don't agree with that. It is a problem. It is, absolutely is. That was the 11th goal they've conceded from a set piece in the Premier League this season. It is an issue. Of course it is. Set piece is 7th worst. Villa and United have conceded more. But then the others are like Sheffield United, Luton, Burnley, Forest. Forest have conceded 21 set pieces goals, which is mad. It's worse than... Yeah, that's the way to look at it, I suppose. It's worse than 12 other teams in the Premier League. 9 more than Man City have conceded from set pieces. 6 more than Arsenal. 4 more than Liverpool. I don't know why... Well, maybe I do. I was about to say I don't know why he kind of doesn't see it as an issue. But I think maybe it's an aspect of... He's publicly said that Mile Jedinak, obviously a young coach in the making, as it were, that's part of his responsibility. I don't think it's purely him. I think Matt Wells has a part to play as well, and Chris Davies is the assistant manager, probably oversees it all too. To kind of pin it on one person would be too much. But maybe he feels he needs to shield him a little bit because he's kind of pointed out that he's got part of that as one of his things that he's remit. God, that was the word I was looking for, remit. And so maybe he's doing that, but maybe also it's to stop it becoming a bit of a thing. Conte did that. It might have been set pieces with him, of trying to not make it a thing in the player's mind, so that every time a set piece comes in, they're like fearful of, oh no, we're going to let in another one. And I get that there is a kind of mentality aspect to it, but the problem is it just keeps happening. And this one, 87th minute, Dejan Kulusevski actually was the one who was probably most at fault. It seems to be mainly zonal marking they're doing. I had someone tell me today it's because Gianni Vio used to prefer man-to-man marking. I don't know where that came from. I must reiterate once again, Gianni Vio only did attacking set pieces. So much has been made of Gianni Vio. I find it incredible, the fixation with him, because he was very good at his job and he was a very nice man. I spoke to him a couple of times. Lovely chap. But as I've said before, Spurs are they only need to get a few more goals and they could potentially get the same amount of attacking set-piece goals this season. So I feel like if you're looking in that direction as one of the issues of the season, I think you're looking in the wrong direction. I think there's other problems that need to be fixed. I don't think that's a problem. Defensive set-pieces is nothing to do with Gianni Vio, and it is an issue. Dejan Kulusevski completely lost Shah, sold him a little bit of a dummy, ran in the opposite direction, and he powered in ahead of Vicario, just kind of watched it go in.